观众朋友们，大家好，我是美国生活方式的栏目主持人景兰。今天我带大家来到世界著名的骨科医生和发明家 Dr.Reis 的家，和他聊一聊他的新书 The Joint Kitchen 和他的成长故事。Dr. Reis, it's a great pleasure and honor that you are the first interviewee in my program, American Lifestyle. Thank you so much, and it means a lot to me.
Well, thank you, Jinlan. It's great to be here and great to have an opportunity to talk to you and your viewers. So I appreciate you coming over and look forward to our interview.
Thank you. Dr. Reis, I know you are a world-class surgeon and a fruitful inventor. You not only saved numerous people's failed knee or hip surgeries, including my husband Bill's knee, you have invented 45 U.S. patent technologies. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'm so proud of you and have boasted about you to my friends all over the world. You currently published a book called The Joint Kitchen.
Yes, I did. It's just coming out now.
In the book, you talk about how you developed the ideas for your inventions from your daily life or leisure activities. Reading your book was an eye-opening experience to me, and I believe your book will inspire a lot of people to look at the world differently than ever before. So please tell us, why do you want to share your secrets with the world instead of hiding them to avoid competitions?
Well, I really don't have a secret to share. If anything, I'd want to share it. And let me tell you the history of how this occurred. In my field as a professional and academic, we publish typically on a well-defined area of science, which is how to improve knowledge and understanding of orthopedic diseases and treatment. The patents I've had and inventions are a little bit outside the scope of that, although they're related directly to orthopedics and trying to improve the quality of care and treatments we have for our patients. Generally, it's a little bit outside the scope of traditional scientific research. And so this is something I've done independently, and I'm not the only one. There are other surgeons who've been involved in this type of this area as well. But what happened actually was during my trips to China, I was approached, I would say, on some of my lectures by probably the younger Chinese surgeons more than anything else, and they asked me how I got ideas for things. I gave a lecture once on how to think like a designing surgeon, and I was almost embarrassed. I never thought about it before. It's outside the scope of what I usually do, but I did know exactly where I was and what I was doing when most of these specific ideas were developed or occurred to me that led to patentable devices and hopefully improvements in how we do things in orthopedics. And in looking back at them, what I was doing at the time was actually very relevant to the idea for the patent. There was a direct correlation, so I could easily see if I was cutting an orange, how the shape of the orange influenced the shape of the acetabulate cup hip prosthesis, or opening a wine bottle with the twisting motion correlated with how the knee rotates as it bends, and ultimately how a device was made to reproduce that same mechanism in a knee replacement, and others. So I put those ideas together and presented them at one or two meetings, and what I noticed was that in the audience, which included orthopedic surgeons, there were some non-surgeons as well. There were friends or family members or people involved in other aspects of the healthcare system who seemed extremely interested in it. And then I had the idea, well, why not share this with people outside the scope of my professional field in orthopedics, and that led to writing a book for a general audience. So this book is intended for a general audience, not just my peers as doctors, and that I think anybody hopefully can read it and share the same train of thought that I wound up with and benefit in some way from it.
That's wonderful. We're lucky to have you. Is your thinking style trained or from birth?
I really don't know how to answer that question. It is what it is. It's kind of the way it is. But I think that that question is something that you never really know the answer. I think that a couple things probably influenced it, which was I would say my father in particular. And the reason I say that, he unfortunately passed away when I was very young, but I was there for a period of time in my youth when he was still alive. And he was a college professor. He basically impressed upon me that it's okay, and beyond that, probably a good idea to question conventional wisdom. He did some things that I saw as a child, which were not well accepted by his peers, but he did whatever he thought was a good idea, I guess. And one time, he was a sociology professor. There was one time when he kind of did a social experiment, I guess, with his class, and had all of his students write down on a piece of paper what they thought they should get for a grade. And then he went ahead and gave them whatever they wrote down on the piece of paper, regardless of their work, which was met with a horrible response from the university. But it left, I think, an impression on everyone in the class and myself as well, that he would just do something like that and see what happened. So I was always of the thought that you should try to do things better and question conventional wisdom. That the way we do things, we kind of accept it, so that's the way it is, but there could be a way to do it better. And I think that sort of identifies problems. We all encounter problems in day-to-day life, and there's always a way to do things better. I don't think we have to get that obsessed about it a lot, but if you're aware of it, then a solution can come up.
Okay. So, do you remember when you were how young he started to encourage you to question authority or convention?
I don't think he ever really encouraged me. You learn by example. And as a child, the most important example is your parents, so that how they live their life and how they do things is going to have the biggest impact, more so on what they're telling you as a child or trying to teach you directly. So I suspect it was at a pretty young age. He got very sick when I was 12 years old, so it was probably sometime before that in my growing years, and don't know exactly when, but I think as a young child and student, I was impressed with some of the things he had done to kind of always ask questions about where things came from and why it is the way it is. And he would ask me those questions as well. And I would ask him, and he didn't even know the answer all the time.
That's very good. Do you think, what did you do differently as a child than your peers?
I think as a child, I was, out of necessity, a little more independent than my peers. I suspect that may have been a major difference. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I wouldn't want it for my kids. But for me, I think it forced me to kind of figure out how to get around and live early on in life, how to achieve the things I wanted to. If I wanted to ski or do something like that, I had to earn enough money to accomplish it and find ways to do it. Mowed lawns, I shoveled snow, stuff like that. I think a lot of kids have that experience as well, and I did, which probably taught me some independence early on. That may have differentiated me somewhat. I had good friends, I still do, from my early years, and stay in touch with many of them. And we're all a little bit different. I grew up in a small town where I think we were blessed in a lot of ways with a lack of crime or any of the problems that occur in big cities or in urban environments that we didn't have. And I mean, we, myself, my peers, my friends, my family. So that it was a blissful environment that I really treasured and had a wonderful childhood.
That's nice. So, did you have a mentor when you were a teenager?
I don't think I had a mentor when I was a teenager. I did definitely have a mentor when I was in college. So I went to college when I was 18 and met a professor at college who became kind of like a father figure for me and ultimately directed me to go to medical school. I went to college to be an engineer and had no intention of going to medical school. After my freshman year, I needed a job to stay in Boston, which is where I was going to college. Was able to get a job working in a research lab that was run by this particular professor. And so he became my mentor. And I wanted to do what he did, which was biomedical engineering research. He told me that the best way to do it was to get an MD, since it would be easier to get grants and do what he did in research. That ultimately led to my interest in pursuing a medical career. But I was an engineer first, and then got interested in medicine based on, to a large extent, his recommendations and guidance. And then once I was in medicine, my interests were more in the engineering aspects of medicine, which would lead me to orthopedics, musculoskeletal conditions, maybe some other areas, pulmonary medicine or cardiology, but it really resulted in orthopedics.
That's better, so you could save Bill's leg. In your book, you said that when a person invents, usually there is a problem which needs a solution. So, critical thinking is the first necessary condition for invention. Do you think the people who see no problems can invent, and why?
Well, I think everybody can see problems. I don't think there's anybody who can't see problems. They just may not know it. So everyone sees problems. I mean, people, struggle with various things. They complain about stuff. They may not define it as a problem, but I think everybody recognizes problems. So if there were somebody who couldn't recognize a problem and they can't find a solution or, do the creative thinking you're suggesting, but I think in reality it applies to everyone. Everyone can see a problem, whether they realize it or not. And most of the problems we have, we don't really think about as problems. We just accept it, well, that's kind of the way it is. That's how we do things. But if you're aware of the problem, then you can find a solution. And the awareness may not be all that conscious. It might be something that's floating around in the back of our mind. And if you allow the parts of our mind that create and the parts that solve problems to work together, that's how you come up with solutions. In the book, I talk about the right and left sides of the brain. One side is the logical side, the other side is more artistic and creative. And I think when these two sides connect is when we come up with solutions to problems.
That's the part I like about your book.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I try to imagine I can have that kind of a second, but it didn't show up yet. I hope it will show up in my new program.
I'm sure it will.
When a better tool is already available, why do some people still find any excuse not to use it, do you think?
Well, I think there could be a lot of reasons for that. They might be kind of set in their ways, and some people don't want to do new things. If you look at new technology, sometimes there's a learning curve to it. For instance, when I was younger, we didn't have cell phones or any of the electronic media today. And my generation, the generation older than me, struggles with using computers and social media and many things like that. Even though they're good tools, they require some learning and education. And if you're comfortable with how you're doing things now, even though a newer technique or method may be better, it may also require some learning. curve may be an impediment to doing it. So I think a lot of times not using a new tool that's more efficient or better in some ways might be that the education required for it, the time invested to really get over that learning curve is just not worth it for some people.
Not worth the time and effort to learn. That might be one of the answers. At least some people believe.
So the best solutions are ones that are more efficient, better, and simpler, and intuitive. So the best solutions are the simplest ones, I think.
Good. In your book, you talk about your kitchen work a lot. You mentioned that the cheese grater has inspired you to invent a tool for your operation. I heard people say the orthopedic surgeons are carpenters, but you are the carpenter who created your own tools. So the question is, do you know what percentage of the orthopedic surgeons can create their own tools?
Well, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think as a group, orthopedic surgeons are extremely creative. And a lot of that is based on necessity. Many orthopedic problems we encounter are similar in many ways, the operations we do, but they're also unique and different. So each operation has some subtle differences from the last however many you've done, even though you've done great numbers of them as a surgeon. And surgeons are always trying to be more efficient, which is a good thing. We want to shorten the surgical time and improve the patient outcomes and minimize the morbidity or adverse events that are associated with longer surgical times and maybe less durability of the treatments we're trying to accomplish. So I think in general there's a very high percentage of orthopedic surgeons that are innovative, and if you look at the growth of orthopedic surgery in terms of the quality of treatments we have, I believe, I can't really quote you any statistics on it, but I'm sure that that rate of growth and improvement exceeds what we see in other areas of healthcare, which might be driven more by drug treatments and less with medical devices, which is what drives orthopedics. In my field, we have a great emphasis on continuing medical education. The reason for that is because the field is constantly changing due to improvements that are available in treatments. Surgeons need to keep up with the latest knowledge in orthopedics. It's not a field where you can just stand still and keep doing it the way you were when you learned, however many years ago it is. You have to continually change to keep up with the best treatments available. And I think much of that comes from the innovation that's directly attributable to orthopedic surgeons. So to answer your question, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's a high percentage, much more so than in other subspecialties.
Probably 50% or 30%?
I guess at least 50%. I think
more than or less.
Well, I think it depends on how you define innovation. If an orthopedic surgeon is coming up with new instruments, that probably doesn't occur all that often, but they come up with new ways to use the instruments they've got. They work in a collaborative fashion with companies that make the devices. We implant in people as in many circumstances as part of a team, and that all those contributions add up to improve the outcomes. Inventions, I guess, like I have, I think is quite a bit lower, but I think as a field, we're always trying to make things better.
Very good, thank you. Okay, this one is in my head for a long time.
Okay.
In your book, you note that the cheese grater doesn't belong to any category of the other kitchen tools. And anyone who places the cheese grater at a place, he or she must have his or her own reasons. So my question is, besides somewhere is empty or it has all very variegated tools. What are the other reasons you might have in your mind?
Well, I think that's different for every person. So just to iterate, in this part of the book, which is in the beginning part, I talk about the cheese grater, which I think is a very unique thing. It's inexpensive to make. You just punch holes in a sheet of metal, but it's a very efficient tool. And we use similar things in orthopedics. So we try to reproduce the same simplicity and efficiency in orthopedic instrumentation. And that's probably why I was kind of drawn to it and admire it. But the cheese grater, if you're emptying the dishwasher, you need to put it somewhere. You know, this is one of my tasks as in my household, is to empty the dishwasher. And I don't know where it goes. I don't know where my wife's going to put it. So I'll put it somewhere. And I think anybody in that situation would do the same thing, but they might choose different spots. You might choose a spot where you could find it again. You might choose a spot where you could never find it again, yes. Depending on whether or not you want to deal with it at another time. And you might pick a spot where there's just enough empty room to put it where it doesn't bump into something else. So I think all of those are valid reasons. And the reasons that would occur to different people, none of them are necessarily better than the other, but they say something about the person's thought process, what solution they're trying to solve. So if you're trying to solve a solution where you never want to see it again, you put it someplace where you can't find it and don't remember where you put it. If you want to be able to find it if somebody asks you, then you got to put it next to something that bears some similarity that you might remember. And those would be different reasons for different people because they're trying to solve different problems. So it's it's kind of a mundane example, but I think it was one that points out how we think differently, and we're trying to solve problems all the time, and we never really think about them. We do it on a subconscious level.
This question: as a doctor, do you care about politics, and why?
As a doctor, I care about politics a little bit. I care about politics as an individual, as a citizen and person, and to be aware of what's going on and have some responsibility to participate in voting and other aspects of our life here, probably more so than other countries. As doctors, I think we're, as a group, less political. We mostly want to take care of our patients and not be that involved in politics. But over time in my career, I've seen politics become a much more important part of our day-to-day activity as doctors because of the regulations and health laws that directly affect how we take care of patients and also our livelihood. So it's become a more important topic to doctors and to orthopedic surgeons, I would say, over a period of years. For me personally, it's not a high priority.
This one is from our audience. There are many over-the-counter medicine for osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. Are they really helpful?
Well, it's not an area of expertise for me, but I think probably not. The best treatments for osteoporosis are, proper diet and exercise. And the most effective way to minimize effects of osteoporosis is with day-to-day exercise where your bones get some weight-bearing activity. Still, there are some effects of aging, and more so in women, that aren't going to be countered by that. And their medications may be helpful. My impression of pretty much all the medications for osteoporosis is that they can improve bone density, but they don't do it necessarily in a meaningful structural way. And if you get enough osteoporosis, the bone is weaker, it can fracture more easily. Even if there's greater calcium in the bone, that's not particularly structurally aligned with the rest of the bone structure. So I'm a little bit skeptical of the over-the-counter treatments. And again, I think it's like any other problem. It's one we don't have a good solution for, and we need to continue to strive to find one that's better.
Thank you. That's something new to me. I thought the density, when the density is increased, then it helps to become become stronger, I got.
There's not a direct correlation.
Okay. That's a new knowledge to me. So Dr. Reis, do you have anything to tell your readers you didn't say in your book?
Just that this is the first book I've written for a general audience. I've written a lot for my orthopedic peers in the scientific and orthopedic literature. So this was a new experience for me. I hope people enjoy reading it. I've enjoyed writing it. And so it's something new for me. The other thing I would say is that anybody can write a book. If you have something to write about, something you want to share, it takes a certain amount of courage, I think, to put it out there. But if you don't do it, nobody will ever know. So I hope this is well received. And so far, I've enjoyed doing it, and I look forward to hearing about how other people respond to it.
Dr. Reis, I'm so lucky to have met you and have this opportunity to introduce you and your book, The Joint Kitchen, to the Chinese communities in China and overseas. We need it. We need to know how to invent.
Well, there's always room for making things better, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you and get to know you. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, work is done. 亲爱的观众朋友，有关 Dr. Reis 的专访，今天就播报到这里。希望 Dr. Reis 的新书《The Joint Kitchen》能帮助您实现发明家的梦想。这是我第一次做专访节目，欢迎各位留下宝贵的批评和建议，我将尽力在以后的节目里满足大家的愿望。谢谢您的收看，再见。